Ayin Thropos here with another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do, because then something bad might happen to you. And I'm talking to you. Thanks for joining me today for another interesting episode. We are in the process of revamping our set, making it more amenable, so to speak, for the general populace at large, according to the precepts set forth by the new marketing firm, which is basically Jacob and his wife. Okay, so let's go ahead and get carried on here. A lot of big changes are coming about on the show. One of them is that the name of the show is changing. It hasn't been exactly decided what the name of the show is going to be, but it's no longer going to be called You Don't Know, and I'm going to be dressing nicer, so that I can be more appealing to the general public. There's going to be less antics, less cussing, less wild stuff, all the stuff that many of you have come to know and appreciate, but yet was limiting the audience and therefore limiting the message that I've been able to get out thus far. And so that's the reason for these things. We're losing the Dayglow orange hair color. I know a lot of y'all will miss that. Actually, this, hair, I didn't set out to color my hair orange, a la Ronald McDonald. It just kind of happened that way. I actually colored my hair purple, and it was just the deepest, darkest purple. I think we might have a picture of that somewhere. And so anyway, there's been a lot of changes going on here, a lot of things in the air. I've got a new modeling agency, and we had a big photo shoot over here this last weekend. It was couldn't have gone any better. We had some amazing talent, some amazing models, some amazing photographers, a lighting director, etc., etc., and it was just kick-ass. I mean kick-ass. So anyway, yeah, I think we might even have a couple of little clips to show here. Run those clips, huh? All right, yeah, check this out. Wow. What do you think about that? That's some amazing talent right there, isn't it, huh? So I feel super blessed to, be getting this going. And, of course, Austin, Texas, very dynamic town. It was 2017's boom, worldwide boom town, #1 boom town in the world, according to Forbes magazine. And yes, I have been working out with my personal trainer, and she is meaner than a box of rattlesnakes. You might not guess it by looking at her picture, but yes, Frances is very mean indeed. And she makes me do things that I don't like running, push-ups, all kinds of crazy stuff. Jumping, not only do you have to do like squats and stuff like that, but you have to do these jumping squats. I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit, man. That's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, you got to do it, So, don't we have another clip of our new models? Run that other one. Yeah, check this out. Ooh, better get a closer look at this. Oh. I'll tell you what, that's a talented model right there for sure. And so we had a great time, man. There was a little bit of booze. Some people were drinking. Most people weren't. There was food. We were eating, networking. You know, meeting all kinds of lovely and interesting people and talented people and dedicated professionals in Austin, Texas, on the modeling slash photographer scene and the print scene. Print is what they call modeling when it's like a still picture. You know, you don't call that, you know, some people call it stills, you know, you might call it a picture or something in a magazine. But really what it is that is print. That's print photography, meaning that it's going on a piece of paper or it's going on a still image somewhere, you know, on the internet or whatever. So you have print and then you have, you know, what we might call movies or video or something like that in the movie industry. They call this motion picture. They call it the motion picture industry. Okay, and I wouldn't know this except that one of my best friends, who's you know, I might call it FWW, friends with whatever, you know, and very dear person to my heart, who's also a 26-year Hollywood veteran, you know, taught me that amongst other things, having to do with, you know, when we kind of got the first phase of my quote unquote makeover, I guess over a year ago. And then obviously it's needing revamped, and I'm sure she'll be advising me within the parameters as set forth by the new marketing team. Go Jacob, go Jacob's wife. Y'all kick ass, ooh wee. So, we're going to have a very interesting time. We're going to have a very interesting guest. Our guest is from Alaska. I'm going to ask him about how those earthquakes went, you know, what was going on with that and everything. Our guest is an experiencer. Our guest is a hardcore experiencer and a multi-generational experiencer. And we don't know if in the history of this genre, if there's ever been interviews with generational abductees, experiencers, whatever the fuck you want to call it, all right? But this is one of those cases, so it's a more or less a groundbreaking event in the genre. This person's name is Paul Reyes, and his mother, Anna Reyes, was on the show about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, and with some very, you know, compelling testimony. Some of it got downright scary, you know, it was chilling and everything like this. And Christopher S. Jacobs helped us with that interview. And thank you, Christopher. You did an awesome job. So yeah, from Alaska, we have Paul Reyes. We're going to see what he has to say about all these, you know, ET, extraterrestrial stuff, you know, all things like that. Stay tuned, because you don't know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do, because then something bad might happen to you. Hey! Ayin Thropos here. With another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do, because then something bad might happen to you. All right. Woo! We're going to check on the status of our guest here in just a moment. He's some technicians are on their set over there, and they're getting them rounded up. There's fixing. We got a technician over here, so we're on standby. We'll see you in just a minute, huh? Don't act like you do. All right, we're gonna make that. Go ahead and make that call, okay? We're gonna see if we're looking for Paul Reyes. Paul,
Hel-
Paul, are you
Hello.
with me? Hey, how you doing,
Good. Good.
man?
How about yourself?
Awesome, man. Down here in beautiful Austin, Texas, and it's a little bit cold right now, so it's kind of maybe reminiscent of where you are up there in
Well, do
Alaska.
you have half a foot of snow right now?
No, I don't. Don't have
But
that.
Texas cold,
Wow.
man, that bites to the bone. That's the thing. I can walk outside in shorts and a short sleeve t-shirt right now and be fine. Yeah.
Even in the
Yeah.
snow. And that's if an
Well,
earthquake
that's
doesn't
true
get you.
too. Yeah, I try to stay away from those. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this last time.
Oh, so why don't you relate to the viewers your earthquake experience if you had one?
My experience with that was, well, it was about 8:26 on the dot in the morning. I got up ahead of my alarm clock and I decided to set it to save myself 30 minutes, sleep an extra 30 minutes before I have to get up and start my day. So I did that, set my phone on my nightstand, and put my head back down. And as soon as my head touched the pillow, the walls became jello. Everything just, it was, the earth thought it was
Wow.
the sea, and everything went nuts. I think I'm in a good part of town though,
Wow.
because there was no structural damage, and the only thing that was lost was an artisanal bottle of vinegar. Yeah.
Huh. Was anyone killed in the town that you
No,
live in?
very few injuries. I think maybe a handful, if even, and I don't believe they were very serious. There were no deaths, and the roads that were destroyed were repaired, although temporary fixes. They were repaired within 72 hours.
Wow, that's amazing. So it sounds like the infrastructure held up pretty well as far as like electricity and all that stuff,
It
water.
was in some places it was down for about 24 hours or so. There was
Hmm.
a water boil alert in effect for a while, but then that was
Right.
lifted. There was a brief tsunami warning as well, but then again that was lifted.
Wow. What's the name of the city where you
Anchorage.
live? Anchorage. Oh wow, that's one of the bigger cities in
Yeah,
Alaska,
yeah,
isn't it?
definitely. And it was I won't, God, the center was like what, more near Eagle River, I think. Eagle River, Wasilla. But yeah, no, I think we're Anchorage is the largest city here, and it's yeah, it was pretty intense, man.
Wow. I bet your mom was glad to, get make contact with you and find out that you weren't injured or killed
Well,
or
that's
missing.
yes, yeah. I'll just say yes. But that's the funny thing is, like, after it happened, I text her right away, and I was like, "Mom, there was an earthquake. It was a really bad earthquake." And I didn't hear anything
Wow.
from her for a while until she was like, "Oh shit, I just saw the news. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I tried to tell you. Like, I'm not just gonna say there's an earthquake for no reason." I laughed about it. I thought it was funny. But,
Your mom had tried to warn you ahead of time? Is that what
no,
you're
no, no,
telling
no,
me?
no. I had tried to let her know that I had just been through an earthquake, and she didn't respond until she saw the news. And then she was like, "Oh, you're
Oh,
serious? There was
okay.
actually an earthquake." I was like, "Yeah, no, a big one, a really big one." Um,
Yeah, because it's been shown, to my satisfaction, that your mother is definitely an empath of some sort. And let me
oh yeah,
refresh the viewers, or kind of let yeah, it's heavy, and tell the viewers what's going on here. This could be one of the very first generational interviews with an experiencer, in that Paul's mother, Ann Reyes, was on the show about 2 months ago. And it was a spellbinding show. It was very intense. And also Christopher Jacobs, who's an empath, was involved, and he was giving some of his impressions of Ann's experiences. And the whole thing was just really intense. And so now Ann has referred me to her son, Paul Reyes, in Anchorage, Alaska. And here we are, man.
here we are.
With I don't have any background information about you. You've told me off camera that really this is probably the first time that you've actually relayed some of these experiences to the public.
Yeah, I mean, an occasional, friend or so, but and then my mom, of course. But yeah, it's not generally something people talk about. I guess people like to talk about, people like to hear. It's kind of weird. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, I'm not going to needle you for information, and I know that some of this can it can like maybe bring up triggers and stuff. And so let's just take it slow. Let's just take it easy. There's no pressure. And where do you want to begin?
um, I guess not really put things in context. So I had mentioned previously off camera that originally I didn't want anything to do with it. It made absolutely no sense to me. I actually didn't even know the whole deal with space programs, the idea of, I feel like everybody has a general X-Files idea of aliens. You know, it's a military, it's green gray men, it's this, it's that, and that's just it's static. Like that's the idea. Anything further than that is holy. You're crazy. Bird people. What are you talking about? That makes no sense. And that's kind of where I stood with it. And it really wasn't until my mom actually gave me the name Max Spears, and I started looking into him. And it was a particular dream that he had, that I had something very similar, and that kind of got me started on things. And then I started looking more into it and trying to remember more and look at old dreams, look at old events that happened, and really pay attention to it. The dream in particular that I'm talking about, I don't know if you know anything about Max Spears.
I know I'm not going to sit here and say I know a lot about Max Spears, but I know as much as anybody. I'm in a forum with 21 people, and I'm the only person in that forum that did not know Max
Oh,
Spears
okay.
personally.
Well, I didn't know him personally, so either. But the thing I'm getting to is there was a particular dream he had about flying, I guess, floating above his house, and I've had that. I woke up to breeze. It wasn't necessarily cold, but it was a breeze, and I got up with the intent of either closing the window, which would have made no sense because I never really opened the window, or closing the bedroom door, and I opened my eyes to see stars, a shit ton of stars, and it was extremely confusing to say the least. And I normally lay on my back, so if I'm laying on my back and facing this way, I had to turn myself, which was really awkward, and turn and look, and I could see my house getting smaller. And that didn't really come back until I had heard, it said by someone else, and it was really, I don't know, I kind of became obsessive in my searching for information because I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I didn't want that to be a thing. And the more I looked into it, there was more, just more. Um, when I was a child, and my mom can attest to this too, uh, when I was a child, young, like 4 or 5, I was plagued by a series of nightmares, and she would find me hiding in the closet, like begging people not to take me, basically. Leave me alone, don't touch me, please don't take me, just crying in the closet. And these nightmares were, um, the best way I can explain it is a giant movie theater screen with sound waves on it, and it's all black and white, and there was no voice. It was these gray bubbles that would just get bigger and then shrink, and as they did that, there was a droning bassy noise, and it was the most terrifying thing in the entire world. And I remember this as a child. I don't remember all the times I'd been in the closet, but I remember freaking out and waking up and running out of the room and screaming and crying because of these nightmares. And I haven't had them probably since middle school, beginning of high school, but they were bad.
Well, that's around the time when a young man might be reaching puberty or something like that. And so, do you think that that has something to do with it? Why you quit having these dreams?
It's possible. It's totally possible. I really have no clue why. I'm glad for it, definitely. Either
Oh
way,
yeah.
but I have no explanation as to why they came on or why they stopped.
Okay. Do you remember you? But what the way I hear you saying it is that you still remember some of
Oh,
these
definitely,
dreams.
vividly.
Oh wow, wow. Yeah, not many people remember dreams from their
Oh no, I
childhood.
remember I have getting out of bed and screaming my head off and running to the door, which was I was always too short. I'm a really short guy. Um, yeah, no,
Wow.
it's those are not fun.
Okay. Now, what is the reason or what is the context of your mother naming you Max Spears? I didn't really understand
She
that.
was wanting me to look into something. It was the whole like she would just like look into this. Like when you have the time, check this out. Look at this thing, and because prior to that, I had asked her, "Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?" And she laughed at me, and she just ha ha ha, look this up. And I went on from there, but that is kind of how that got started. You know, way back in the days, yeah, way
Fascinating.
back in gosh, high school. Well, near the end of high school, I got real interested in things like the JFK assassination. Did we really land on the moon? And so I started checking that stuff out. And when the Mandela effect became a thing or really got popular online, um, it kind of triggered me back into wanting to look at things, wanting to question stuff because I don't know about you, man, but when I looked up the JFK assassination, there were four people in the car, not six. And I will stick by that till the day I
Right.
die. That no, not six.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the whole thing is very weird, and then even the Zapruder, films
Dude,
are like definitely
yeah,
bogus.
no.
So doctored.
But that's a whole nother thing, man.
And as far as the moon goes, we all know what's up with that. I mean, not everybody is on the same page, but come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, we went to the moon in a sardine
Mm-hmm.
can with no protection from the Van Allen radiation belts. But let me just go ahead and interject this right quick because people might have different ideas about the Mandela
Mm-hmm.
effect, and I think that most of our listeners will know what it is. And I think that the what they're wanting us to believe, and what I think that actually most people believe, is that
Mm-hmm.
CERN, the big bad CERN, was collapsing timelines
And
and
it
stuff
blended
like that,
ours
and
with
they
the
caused the
second
Mandela
one,
effect.
right?
Yes, and I refute that. I do not agree with that at all because I go with the narrative that John Lamb Lash espouses, and of course he's a Gnostic, not a fake Gnostic, but a real Gnostic. But that the Mandela effect is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
real, and that it was actually done by Sophia, which is the pleromic god, which is enmeshed with that is the Earth, the actual Mother
Oh
Earth.
wow, you said Sophia, and I thought Sophia the AI for a second. That was a scary thought. Um,
No, that's yeah, that's a takeoff. She's to divert from the real
oh,
Sophia.
okay.
That's why they have the same name. Yeah, there's a reason for that. And the whole narrative
Huh.
really of our existence and of this whole thing is these archontic beings, which are in some ways extra dimensional or whatever, but we know from the ancients in their writings that they come in two forms, which is a neonatal form, a little
Hmm.
embryo looking thing, which is the Greys, and then also a one that is like a walking lizard man,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
reptilians.
Yep.
This has been known for thousands of years, and that they are in at war, so to speak, with this the real God, which is the Mother Earth. Anyway, that's just a narrative. I don't have any
I'm gonna
direct
have to
knowledge
look
of
more
this.
into that one. You'll have to send me that gentleman's name because
I'll definitely
that
do that.
was Mandela effect was fascinating for me. Just I mean the way people argue too, and the way that it would just be chalked up to false memories. You can't remember something in its entirety, so your brain starts putting things in places to make it make sense.
That's exactly what a friend of mine who's very smart told me, and I was like, "Man, come on! You know, it was mirror,
Yep.
mirror
Yes.
on the
Yep.
wall. Who is the fairest of them all? You know, it was Luke. I am your
Hello,
father. You know,
Clarice.
it
God.
you know, it's just it's fascinating.
Yeah. That. Yeah. I didn't like that one either.
Paul, uh, Paul, there's these entities that were taking you, and I don't know if they were taking you in the body or taking you in the astral body or what the deal was, but did you ever perceive, or were you ever up on a certain type of craft flying through the air, like what we'd consider a UFO?
I have no recollection or memory of being in anything like that. But I have seen one.
Okay,
Um,
hold,
no,
hold on
no,
a
no
second.
worries. No, no, no worries. No, no
Okay,
worries. I
sorry about
understand.
that. So you have seen a
Um,
UFO?
yeah, this was. I was still in elementary school, so third or fourth grade. There was an old daycare, and this was back in San Antonio, and there was a old daycare by old Albertsons, and they did a sleepover one night, and so all the kids, were staying there, and they one kid had brought a Super Nintendo, and so we're all playing games and hanging out, and that was my main focus of Mario on the Super Nintendo. That was kick ass at that time, and we all got ice cream, and I know a group of us went outside, and it was dark, and one of the kids, it was the weirdest thing. He was like, "What is that?" And he like points up at the sky, and we all turn and look, and it's the most cliche thing in the world. It was absolutely fucking cliche. It was a black saucer with the little glow stars and moons that you put on your ceiling. That kind of like a greenish light. It had a band of green going around it, closer to the bottom, a little towards the sides, but it was like a thin little band, and it was just this silent black disc that just hovered over the daycare and then started to go into the trees into the nearest neighborhood. And a few of the kids got scared and ran inside. Um, and by the time it had disappeared, I eventually went inside after it had disappeared. Um, that was weird. That was really weird. And I didn't remember this for a long time because I remember wanting to play my Game Boy after that, and everybody was winding down, and I went to sleep. At some point during that night, I had looked over at the window, and there was a fucking cliche, man. There was the big eyes, and he was just at the window, and he was just watching me, and it was fucking frightening. And I don't remember anything after that.
Okay. Yes, obviously it's a traumatic experience. So it seems like the ship and the entity had singled you
I have
out
I have
amongst
no
the
idea.
children.
I have no clue. Um,
Were you the only one that was awake when you
yeah,
saw the entity?
I was
Okay.
trying to
So,
figure out how to
we've
play on my
heard
Game
that
Boy
they,
without waking everybody else up.
yeah. Well, is it not possible that somehow the Game Boy that they were, sending some, waves or messages through the Game Boy itself, I don't know if
That
you've
is
ever thought
not.
about
No, I
that.
had never considered that actually.
Because these archons, they're the lords of the air, and they're the lords of electricity and
Mm,
intelligence. You're obviously above average intelligence, if
thank you.
not, are you possibly hyper
I
intelligent? I don't
overthink
know.
everything, so I don't know
I'm
what that means.
Okay. Well, I kind of know the signs to look for. It takes one to know one. So and I haven't known you very
Well,
long.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
fascinating, fascinating. Yeah, no problem.
Sorry about that.
Huh. No worries. It's interesting that one of the things that I investigate is Ghostlight Road, which is these glowing orbs, these
Hmm.
plasma balls. And I'm the first person that I know who has ever filmed the entities within these
Yeah,
things. And you couldn't see them while it was moving, but you took the stills, and guess what they look like? So cliche. I've got pictures
they
I can send you. Big head, big like wraparound glasses, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they're moving
see,
inside
that's
there.
curious. There's a great aunt of mine. At one point, she was visiting my mom, and it was an old house we used to live in. All the houses we lived in, like really weird shit has always happened. But in this particular, and this is the same house where I woke up in the sky. Um, and so my aunt was sleeping in my room. I wasn't home at the time, and apparently she kept seeing blue orbs in my room, like all throughout the night, just flying around. I had never seen him in there before, but she, yeah, ranted and raved to my mom about it the next day. That was weird.
Wow. You know, yeah, the glowing orb phenomena or plasma balls, whatever they call them, it's almost like the glue that holds everything together. It's the one phenomenon that seems to occur with
Hmm.
all other phenomena. It's like they're associated with Bigfoot. They're associated with everything,
That is an
And
interesting
so,
take. I actually hadn't looked at it like that. You're right. Any kind of fringe issue like that, those are there. It's like
yeah,
Watchers or something.
yeah. I mean, what the fuck are they doing? And there's all even like a correspondence with
Yeah.
like fairies. Are they
Or
like
are they the
fairies or
reason why
something?
people think
I
there
don't
are
know.
fairies?
Right. Or Bigfoot. There's I don't know. I do not know. You brought up earlier when we were before we got on tape. You said you mentioned the secret space
Hmm.
program. You also mentioned bird people. Almost makes you think of the blue avians, and that could be a whole
Yeah, I was
conversation in itself.
just alluding to what I is that still the mainstream idea? There's an unnamed group who talked about that for a while, and I've heard some very conflicting things. Um,
Well, I don't, and I don't want you to prompt you to say anything bad about this person. For one, am a detractor of the so-called experiencer or self-proclaimed experiencer known as Corey Good, and I don't, I've been known to not approve of his testimony. I don't
yeah,
want to
my whole
get into
thing is
that, but
I don't know enough really to say one way or another. So
well, it's interesting. William, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy that used to be on Ancient Aliens, and I think he still is. But he's more into the kind of spiritual
mhm.
aspect of this thing, and he would talk about the blue avians, and he just had a different take on it, a more, But absolutely, there are blue avians, and I don't know if this is a type of bird people that you're talking about, but there is a definite
Hmm.
reality to it, in my
um,
opinion.
it's not anything I'm personally familiar with. No, so it's nothing I could really touch upon. But I don't know. One thing I really like to do is just look and see what everybody says. What do they see? What do they say? What do they claim? And then find someone else who says the same thing. Well, what's relevant? What's similar? And then find a third person, and then keep going down the line. And then you can really quickly start to weed out, like, okay, well, somebody just made that shit up. Like, they just wanted to sound cool as hell. That's
Right, right.
ridiculous. It does sound cool as hell, but it's ridiculous. Um, and
Yeah.
that's what I'd started to do. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know a whole lot. I'm not very knowledgeable on that.
Okay. Well, I'm not either. And the only reason I asked you about it is because you said something about bird people. But I'm going to mention a name now, and I just want to kind of get some of the first thoughts that come to your head. Jay Essex.
Um, I don't know a whole lot about him. I've watched a few of his things, mainly because he alluded a lot to Alaska, and of course I have curiosity with that being here. Um, I appreciate the way he does things because I can see he has a kind of that I don't give a shit what you think demeanor, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes me listen to him a little bit more because if he's not, I don't know, if he doesn't care what you think, and then he's not just saying it to say it.
Right, and he doesn't seem to be, even though he might have some
Yeah.
services for sale or something like that, he doesn't seem to really be
No, no,
capitalizing off
no.
of it,
And from what
which
I
kind of,
understand, I may
yeah.
be wrong. I believe his site and things like that he shuts it down from time to time, or kind of steps away from time to time. I'm not.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
if that's the
definitely. I've
case,
heard
like
that.
he's not in it for the money, man. That's no,
No, he's. I mean, it wouldn't
no,
be worth
no.
it, man, for $1 million to. Mhm. Now, but he knows, doesn't he know somebody
Yes,
that
he
you know?
does.
Who is that?
My mom.
Yeah, right. I knew the answer. Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, he's someone I would like to talk to, but that's just for general conversation. That's for my own like my own thirst for knowledge kind of thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, no. Other than that, I really don't know too much about the man. I know my mom said very excellent
Right.
things, and from how she's detailed it, he's very caring nature. He's probably one of the few people on this earth that actually gives a shit about it. So I know he
Hmm.
considers himself kind of a janitor caretaker for the world. um,
Well, let me tell you, I hold your mother's opinion in high regard, and so just by that alone, it makes me
yeah,
like Jay Essex more. And also, like you, I kind of appreciate his delivery and his kind of
yeah,
nonchalant, just matter of fact, just
yeah.
laying it
This
down. I
is
like that.
how it is, and if you don't like it, then move along. Cool. All right.
Right? He's definitely
Oh yeah,
experiencing something.
and I'm not going to argue that
I
at
mean that.
all. No. I mean,
Mhm.
didn't he didn't he have the FBI show up at his house one time because of his energy work with crystals or something like
I
that? It was
I
a
wouldn't
story I
be
heard in one of
surprised.
his
Yeah,
things that it made me laugh. Um, but yeah,
and I'm sure he was nonplussed. He probably just took it.
yeah,
It's like every
pretty
other
much.
day.
Yeah, I think that's his general demeanor on life.
He Yeah, he probably like offered him tea or something like that.
Well, since you're here, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I I have. I don't want you to talk about anything that's going to trigger you too hard, but I have a feeling that more. There's some things
well,
that you want to discuss.
you had asked if I'd like been on a craft or anything like that, and again, still no, I have no memory or recollection of anything like that. Um, the closest thing, and this was 6 or 7 months ago, roughly half a year ago. Um, can you read in your dreams? I'm
What
sorry. Can
about the
you read in your
dreams?
dreams? Are you able to?
Uh, oh, I've never even thought about that. So I guess I might have to say no because that's never
So
crossed my
there's
mind.
something again, I don't know a whole lot. So a lot of this is still I'm trying to figure things out. But there was an instance of a laboratory. There were metal tables, fucking rows of them, and there were cabinets. And I was watching, not from ground level, like standing. I was up above, like I was floating. And I know that because I could see what was in the containers. And these cabinets and shelves had these like steel containers. I mean, they were nice. They were glossy. They're shiny, but these steel containers, and written on it was Rhesus, not like. And this sticks out to me because it confused me because Rhesus is spelt RHESUS, S-U-S, like the rhesus monkey, right? Or the rhesus gene. But this was spelt
Right.
R-H-E-S-Y-S. And I kept looking at it. I had to look
Huh.
at others to make sure I was seeing it correctly, and it wasn't like a mar on the metal, like somebody had engraved it wrong or something. But that's how it was spelt on all of them. And inside these containers, these vats were like it was a like Nickelodeon green slime, like bright Nickelodeon green goo. And there were some bodies on some of the tables. There was one gentleman in particular, and he was wearing like an astronaut suit, a hazmat suit would probably be closer. It was that glass panel face, and it was white. It was all white, and it looked like a bucket head. And he may have had a backpack on, I don't remember. But there was a body on the table, and he was doing something to it. And I should have paid more attention. I didn't pay as much attention because I was focused on these containers. But yeah, that was weird to say the least.
Well, yeah,
And I
that
was trying to
sounds
look
pretty
that up
weird.
because I don't know what rhesus is. Like I thought SYS like system, but I have no idea, and that's just speculation.
Do you know what blood type
I'm
you
O
have?
positive.
Okay, I'm O negative. And so, is O positive? Is that a rhesus or non-rhesus or what is
I'm
that?
not sure. I actually don't know.
Okay, right. I, I'm not too sure either. Okay, fascinating.
But I have to take all of that with a grain of salt because I guess because I don't know. Um,
Right, it sounds like you have your dream time is very powerful. It seems you've got
oh
lucid dreaming that you
gosh, yeah.
remember.
I had an old middle school turn into the Hogwarts cafeteria with the floating candles and shit out of Harry Potter. And I got in trouble at
Uh huh.
school because I kept flying up there, and the teachers kept asking me to come down. I wouldn't listen to them. Flying dreams are my favorite. I used to have a
Uh
red
huh.
cat that would come teach me how to fly. That was cool.
Oh my goodness. Well, Paul, let me tell you. Let me ask you if this is okay. We have been recording for 45 minutes, and I think you might be going to work tonight. But can we take a 15-minute break and then come back and get some of the harrowing
Yeah,
details of?
actually, yeah, because there is something I would like to share. Has to do with when I left because I'd been in Alaska previously, and I left Alaska and went back down to Texas, and I was living in
Uh
Corpus,
huh.
and I had an event happen there that I'm still trying to figure out, and I think you might find that interesting, if not just bizarre. But so yeah,
Wow.
it's 1 o'clock
Wow.
here. 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes, and
Okay,
I'll
cool.
call you back. And all right, Paul, we're sitting on the edge of our seats. This sounds like a very
I
fascinating.
appreciate the time, so thank you.
All right, man.
Okay.
We'll talk to you here in 15 minutes. All right, bye.